We finally got some real updates to this game. And there I was thinking Blizzard had forgotten about us and put this game in maintenance mode. I'm going to start off with some real positive stuff because I actually think some of this is pretty dope. I find this line very interesting. Our first 2 ladder seasons for Diablo 2 Resurrected showed us how adept you adventurers are at saving Sanctuary, all the while striking fear into the tormented hearts of their demonic adversaries in the process. Were these guys watching us fight for terror zones in public games, PKing people? I didn't know they enjoyed that. Ladder Season 3 will begin on February 16th at 8 p.m. for us Eastern players. They give us a friendly reminder here about the shared stash, so make sure if you have any Ladder Season 1 items still kicking around that you want to keep, you take those things out. They're gonna be deleted. Oh my God. They did something. They did something to hustle. Now this is a Runeword, boys. Previously, the armor version of this was rather forgettable, but they have increased the faster run walk speed, added 40% increased attack speed, and +6 to evade. I actually am a big fan of this in PvP as well. It forces players to make a decision. Do you want to teleport around with Enigma, or do you want to have a chance to completely evade your opponent's attacks? God, that's also going to be very interesting on an ES Sorceress. I think it's cool that this Runeword is forcing players to make decisions here, and it's also really cool on a playthrough. Look at what they did to the weapon version of this. They reduced this to a level 1 burst of speed proc, which I think is very underwhelming. But they've also added a level 1 fanaticism aura. This will boost up attack rating, damage, and attack speed. They bumped up the damage on this to up to 200%. While I'm still not absolutely blown away by this Runeword, I have to say, for the cost, it's pretty cool. Oh my God, bros. They added cleansing to cure. Oh, all right. Let's go. They took Macro Bio Boy's advice on Hearth and added cannot be frozen to this Runeword. I think this makes it a bit more usable on a playthrough, and this ability is a bit more in line with what this Runeword does. A good change, still a little underwhelming of a Runeword, to tell you the truth. We got Mosaic. They did some stuff to Mosaic too. Look at that. They changed Metamorphosis so that the crushing blow was no longer attached to the mark of the bear. But it doesn't appear as though there's any notes regarding the fixing of being able to cast certain spells such as battle orders, teleport, or literally anything that's not a druid spell after you have Mark of the Bear or Mark of the Wolf. All right, now just morph back and here we go, boys. We can't teleport though? Oh man, what a broken game. People assumed that was unintended, but after the frustration that people were having with that and there being no apparent notes about this, it seems as though that might be something intended from Mark of the Bear and Mark of the Wolf, which I think is very odd. Additionally, we can now make Ladder Season 1 Runewords and use the Ladder Season 1 Herodric Cube recipes in non-ladder. This was actually a change that they talked about in the launch of the first ladder season, and it looks like they finally carried it through, which is really cool. I know a lot of PvP people who are going to appreciate that. They also made it so Sunder charms can now be dropped in single player. Terror zones are now available in offline games. They have upgraded some of these terror zones, and I do believe some of these are some good changes. They've added the underground passage to Darkwood when that gets terrorized. They've added the hole to Blackmarsh when that gets terrorized. They've added the barracks to the jail. All these are very good changes, I think. Ancient tunnels can now be terrorized in Act 2. They removed Kurast sewers. In lieu of that, they've added the Great Marsh, which, well, that's a dangerous one. That's fine, though. I'd rather die than be stuck doing Kurast sewers for a terror zone. Frigid Highlands and Abaddon were added to Bloody Foothills, Drifter Cavern added to Glacial Trail, and Pit of Acheron added to Ariat Plateau. Overall, very good changes to the terror zones. This one is very interesting. The Assassin's Trap skills now benefit from -% to enemy resistance. Finally, Griffin's Eye actually has a use on the Assassin besides just the 25% faster cast for dual claw sins. They buffed the Amazon here too, and I actually think some things are flying under the radar with this. They fixed an issue where Strafe was not applying bonus attack rating to attacks, fixed an issue where Strafe was still doing 75% weapon damage after a previous balance change. This is to say that they updated this in a previous patch, but the damage was not actually being reflected. And if you go down to the modding section all the way at the bottom, you can see some of the changes that they've made that they've sort of thrown in this section. They moved the percent damage synergy field for multi-shot from Calc 4 to Calc 5. Basically, the difference between some of these levels is that it applies the damage on the character screen, but not in actual application. So the fact that they're doing this for modding down here on multi-shot tells me that we might have actually inherently got some sort of update to multi-shot that wasn't talked about either. It's possible that multi-shot damage was not being applied properly and only being displayed on the character screen. Curious to see how good those Amazons are now. I guess they did put something here, fix the tooltip for multi-shot to reflect the synergy bonus. So it's possible that that worked the other way around as well. Cold Mastery is now applied at 1/5 effectiveness after an immunity is broken. The developers say we wanted to bring Cold Mastery in line with all other skill-based elemental resistance reducing effects for increased consistency. Truthfully, I think they just need to make Cold Mastery work like all the other masteries instead of making yet another exception here to the Cold Mastery skill. This is something that even PvP players are screaming for, while people weren't necessarily screaming for it in PvM after the introduction of Sunder charms. I think if you're gonna make a change like this to nerf it anyway, you should probably just go into the correct direction with it. No, they fixed the Shockwave Druid. Why? Why, man? They say we wanted to implement targeted changes and buffs for the Druid instead of having a particular Druid build be strong because of a bug. That's a very interesting thing to say from the new devs. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a lot of kickback about this here because the Shockwave Druid still wasn't really the top version of a Druid. In fact, a bit of history, in previous LOD patches, the Hammered In wasn't supposed to have hammer damage amplified by the concentration aura. But it was so cool when it happened and players absolutely loved the build, and there was so much kickback when they fixed that they ended up reverting the changes so that the Hammered In is what it is today. People want OP shit in this game, man. They always have. Just let them have it. And it looks like they might have fixed the Dupe Method with this one little line right here. They fixed an issue where the shared stash could exceed the memory limit, which caused items in the player's inventory or stash to be deleted. Alternatively, if you removed items from a seasonal shared stash, it would actually work in the opposite, and sometimes the memory would be overloaded so much that it would actually forget server side that you took that item out of the ladder shared stash. That was how the Dupe Method worked, boys. All in all, some pretty cool changes here to the patch. I'm actually pretty excited to see a lot more edits to these patch notes. It seemed like the first set of them were a bit underwhelming. I'm also happy that they're erring on the side of making rune words a bit more powerful. I really do wish they would take this to the next level, though. And I think a lot of players are going to be excited for the new ladder season, myself included. So that being the case, I would say this patch does what it was intended to do. Get people excited once again about ladder and playing the new season. Either way, let me know what you think down in the comments. Are you going to make the push to level 99 in ladder season 3? Are you going to try out some of these rune words? Let me know, and I'll see you in the Bloodmore.